We are moving to a moment where we will have the government reopen probably on Wednesday. But all eyes are on Chuck Schumer as, he had this bad moment in March when he voted to reopen, keep the government open, then put on the fight. And now that Democrats have caved, he is taking all the blame. Good morning, I'm Anna Palmer.
And I'm Jake Sherman.
And welcome to the Daily Punch, brought to you by Punchbowl News. It's Tuesday, November 11th, 2025. Happy Veterans Day, and thank you to everyone who has served and the families who have supported our active and veteran military communities. Let's get into the mix. Here are your Washington headlines of the day. Number one, all eyes are on Chuck Schumer as the longest shutdown in U.S. history slowly moves to a close. Number two, what's next in the House? And number three, Britt, the next generation dealmaker. All right, Jake, let's get into it. We are moving to a moment where we will have the government reopen probably on Wednesday. But all eyes are on Chuck Schumer as he is dealing with a lot of heat from the left, from members of his own party coming out. He had this bad moment in March when he voted to reopen, keep the government open, then put on the fight. And now that Democrats have caved, he is taking all the blame.
He was in a damned if he does, damned if he doesn't situation here. We've been pretty clear about this all along, Anna, which is Democrats instigated the shutdown because they thought that Donald Trump would somehow cave and decide that he wanted an Obamacare deal and would drag John Thune and Mike Johnson along. That didn't happen. It didn't happen for 40-something days. You know what I mean? And once you're at 40-something days and you don't have any movement, then it becomes difficult to maintain. Listen, there were some signs that Trump was folding last week when he basically said Republicans are getting blamed worse than Democrats at this point. Mm-hmm. But that didn't last because they stood pat. Now, a shutdown is a bet that maximum pain will cause one side to buckle. And that just didn't happen here. And I'll say on top of that, there's obviously a ton of anger towards Schumer in the Democratic base. The dynamic in the Senate is that everyone's a free agent. At the same time, it's difficult for Schumer to play the, hands off. I couldn't do anything to control this thing because he does a lot to control a lot of things. And that's, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I wanted to say one thing. I think it was interesting. I was just thinking about this as you were talking, and I think it's important, which is I feel like Democrats were playing a Trump 1.0, the first administration game.
Yeah.
Right? Like they were making a bet that when the hand got too close to the stove, Trump would be much more reflexive and try to play dealmaker or insert himself in a bunch of different things, which we saw over and over again in a lot of the drama from the Trump administration in his first term. We have not seen that, and the discipline that we've seen in the second term when it comes to dealing with Congress and the willingness to kind of push forward even when it seems as though, there's a ton of headwinds or potential legal challenges. I just think it's important because I think that is going to be something as Democrats think about what do they do moving forward is they got to be playing, it's like they're playing the previous season's defense or something, against a game, right? Like this is not, they got to be thinking about what is happening in today's world. And then I think the most important thing, and I want to kick it to you, is this idea that, Schumer is the leader. He was not the person negotiating how to reopen it. And certainly there have been gangs and there's been kind of deferrals and past histories of different iterations of the Senate. But it is going to be something to watch about how does he kind of recoup and regain the trust and or the power of, kind of being leader in this chamber.
I don't know how he will. In March, he helped Republicans fund the government, and now he has 8 members of his caucus who have split with him to cut a deal with John Thune to reopen the government after this 40-day shutdown. I'm not sure what the path to trust is. I'm not sure what that looks like. I'm not sure how he gets back to that. I'm not sure it really matters, to be honest with you. I think, there's a chance that Chuck Schumer doesn't run for re-election when he's up in 2028. I don't know that to be a fact, but, he's been here a long time. New York has certainly changed. We asked him on flyout day when we had him on, and he was completely non-committal about running. So we could say that. And, I'm torn between two ideas. Number one, let me just say this. The Senate is an institution in which lawmakers, they do listen to their leadership, but at certain times, because of how the institution is designed, they take matters into their own hands and they do what they think is best for their constituents and their own personal politics. Like, remember what we said at the beginning of this shutdown, what Brez always said. It's not important how you get into a shutdown. Shutdowns are really easy to get into, but it's really important to think about how you're going to get out of it. And the Democrats' path to getting out of it, again, was having Donald Trump split and from the Republican leadership and fold. That didn't happen. Let me say one other thing here. So John Thune committed in verbally, and I believe he'll keep his word here. I have no reason to believe it will not, to giving Democrats a vote on an Obamacare tax credit renewal bill before the end of the year. Fine. Mike Johnson has not given the same promise in the House. Like, let's be clear. I know this is coming as a surprise. I don't know why, because we've been saying this every day. They are not for renewing these credits. Maybe they'll pay the political price for that. I don't know what that will look like in November of 2026. They are not for renewing these credits. So, yes, if there was a moment, this was a moment to get it. And I understand why they shut down the government over this. I understand the play. But now it's going to be even more difficult. And I think everyone realizes that. And I think that's the challenging part of this. But
I think one last thing I do want to say, Jake, is I think it's important. As much as, yes, Schumer's getting trashed and people are pissed and he's an easy punching bag, and he is the punching bag, right, for Democrats who need to put their ire somewhere. He's not going to get ousted.
No,
There's still
probably
people
not.
who I think, we quote a bunch of Democratic senators who say, he tried the best he could, he didn't succeed. So I think it's important. Like, that's today's story. The question for Democrats is going to be, can they, instead of fighting amongst themselves, which we've seen them do ever since Kamala Harris lost for her election bid, is can they then kind of utilize Tuesday's election? Can they utilize the fact that probably, as you're saying, Republicans aren't going to be moving forward with some kind of a healthcare package that's going to help on these subsidies? Can they kind of take that as an action item into this midterm election? Or are we going to have multiple weeks and months of Democrats kicking each other in the teeth? That's a question for them that they're going to have to figure out.
Yes, indeed.
All right, Jake, let's talk about what's happening with the CR in the House. Obviously, a lot of lawmakers have not been in Washington for a stunning number of days, but they are coming back. Do you think they're going to know how to get to their office? Are they going to be able to say, like, hey, where's the map? I don't remember. Am I on the fourth floor, the third floor?
Where's my key?
I mean,
and remember, a lot of these offices have been staffed, or some of them have been staffed with employees who have not gotten paid.
right.
And Anna, we hosted a pizza party last week for Hill staff. We were going to have to, I was hearing from people, when are you going to host another one? We're still not getting paid. I said, well, maybe we'll do a different cuisine this time, but the government's opening. So we're not going to be we'll do more, but not in this context. So let's talk about this. My base case always is that the House Republicans are not going to abandon Trump. Right? They haven't done it on a $5 trillion debt limit increase. They didn't do it haven't done it so far. So are they going to really oppose him on a CR that lasts until January 30th? I mean, we're
tough to see, man. That would be pretty stunning.
We're only talking about 2.5 months here. Like, we're not reinventing the wheel. That said, there are a bunch of people who the Republican leadership is watching. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massie, Victoria Spartan, Warren Davidson. Massie's going to vote no. Take that to the bank. Hakeem Jeffries is against this bill. He's whipping against it. Still, we should be watching Henry Cuellar, Jared Golden, Marie Glusa-Perez, Vicente Gonzalez, Susie Lee even sounded like she was open to this on a call on Monday. The vote is going to be on Wednesday after 4 p.m. Of course, it's going to be after 4 p.m. because why would they do it at a normal time of day? Why don't they screw up everybody's day and everyone's night? But that's kind of how it works in the House of Representatives. But I think this is going to pass. I think it's going to be messy. It's going to happen. Clearly, if they're starting at 4, it's going to happen after the market closes. Yeah. So I don't think that's why they're doing this, but I just wanted to point that out. The challenge for Johnson going forward is that a few things. The argument he could make is that, like, he didn't give an inch in this fight. He's not doing a vote on the Obamacare tax credits, and John Thune is, and even the House Freedom Caucus is supporting this thing. But there's a bunch of tests over the next couple months. I mean, getting appropriation bills with the Senate is going to be really difficult. he is going to face intense pressure on these Obamacare credits because affordability is a huge issue. And he has members of his conference who are going to sign a discharge petition that Democrats put forward if Johnson doesn't seem to be making any moves. Now, Jeffries
He's also going to have to deal with the Epstein discharge petition.
Yeah, well, there's nothing for him to deal with there because it's going to get a vote. Adelita Grijalva is going to be sworn in tomorrow.
Correct.
After her long, whatever, it's been almost 2 months of since she's been elected. She's going to sign the discharge petition. Johnson then has 2 legislative days. I mean, the Epstein petition vote is most likely going to come next week unless they take next week off too, which I can't imagine they're going to do. But Johnson, after the discharge petition reaches 218, I think he has 2 legislative days to schedule it. So probably next week. Now, Jeffries has had the luxury of kind of standing pat here, Anna, and he's whipping against this bill pretty hard, and he's going to lose a couple, I imagine, but I don't think it's going to be too many. So that's the House that's going to all go down on Wednesday, and Wednesday night, I guess, probably, I would assume that vote Wednesday probably comes, if I had to guess, in the 10, 11 p.m. hour, maybe. I mean, who the hell knows? These things always go longer than you assume.
It's going to be interesting, too, to just see on the House side, Democrats and Republicans, like where rank and file do they feel like their leadership led them in a strong way here, right? Jeffries, as you know, kind of had the back seat, right? This was really a Senate play, but certainly when it came to Speaker Mike Johnson, I mean, he was doing extended press conferences, Q&As, kind of made himself the face for House Republicans in a lot of ways by keeping them out. How does that play out as we go through the rest of this year? Is there grumbling if they have to deal with something with healthcare? The fact that you're talking about potentially another reconciliation package focused on healthcare, right? An issue that Republicans have struggled on for more than a decade. Just, I think that like the simmering of like, how does the leadership get graded on this? Probably initially well for both sides, but how that plays out going forward, going to be something to watch. All right, let's run to the number 3 story of the morning. Senator Katie Britt, the Republican from Alabama, flexes her deal-making muscles. Super interesting item from Andrew Desiderio about kind of the inner workings behind the scenes. We heard so much about Jeanne Shaheen going to John Thune and doing some of the negotiating of getting this government reopened. But Katie Britt behind the scenes, a newer member, really quietly working to secure White House support for Senator Tim Kaine's push to reverse the administration's mass layoffs of federal workers during the shutdown. And not only that, but committing to no further rifts.
Katie Britt is a former Senate staffer, Anna. She understands how these things work. She was chief of staff to Richard Shelby, the former chair of the Appropriations Committee, and somebody who was always in the middle of all of these fights.
For sure.
But she is seen as somebody, I mean, she has the trust of a lot of Democrats. And she was able to go to the White House and say, this is what needs to get done on these rifts. And even Trump yesterday, I mean, we were all waiting for Trump to say, no, I don't like this deal, or we'll see what happens, or something like that, because the White House was saying he was for it, all that stuff. That didn't happen. Trump said it's a good deal. I'm going to support it. I'm going to sign it. That's not a quote, but he came out for it, even when asked directly about the rifts, which is a controversial point because remember, Russ Vought, who's all of a sudden we don't see in this shutdown a ton after, all the stuff that he's done. They could have said like this was the chance for mass layoffs and we're going to stick with it and it's going to be permanent and all that stuff, which actually they did say. They said that at the beginning of the shutdown. So anyway, very good item by Andrew, who has worked his butt off over the last couple of weeks with all of us on the Hill. He deserves a break. He's going to get a break today, but let's not go crazy because tomorrow's another day. But I told him, take today.
It's great management style right there,
take today and take a few hours for yourself. Go do whatever it is. The Eagles won. Go do whatever it is that you do. Take a walk, walk your dog, whatever.
Management 101 by Jake Sherman. We're going to leave it there, folks. Thank you so much for listening. We appreciate it. If you like the Daily Punch, please share it on social media. Tell your friends. It's the best way for folks to find out about us. And of course, you can sign up for our free morning newsletter at punchbowl.news. Have a great day. Stay safe, everybody.